The Way of the Wolf by Jordan Belford. It is one of the best books on sales and marketing. If you want to learn communicate persuasively, if you want to learn selling skill, then it is one of the best book I would prefer. In this particular book, he has explained about straight line persuasion system. By using the straight line persuasion system, you can be more likable and trustworthy. By using this, you can build good relationship with your customers. And let's talk about why do people buy before talking about the how you can sell your product or service to them. People don't buy because of logic. People buy because of the emotions, and they justify it with their logic. The logical mind is analytical by nature. So the more information you give it, the more information it wants to know. If you get someone who is of higher level of logical prospect, certainly they will say it sounds great, your plan sounds great, your product and service sounds great, but let me think about it, let me do more and more research about it so that I could know if I am putting my money in the right place. So that is how logical people think. That is how a logical prospect will ask you, or a logical people or a logical prospect will tell you. So what you can do if you get some logical people, what you can do is you can skip the logical case and you can focus more on the emotional certainty part of their mind. Logical mind is basically a bullshit detector who will find out the problems and the loopholes in your find out the problems and the loopholes, and it will compare your product and service to your competitors. So what you can do, let's talk more about the logical certainty part. Logical certainty is based on the words that you say. Does your idea really make sense? Does your product or service fulfill their needs? Is it priced fairly? They will compare your product or service with your competitor's product and service. Logical certainty will find out your cost and benefit ratio, which is they will find out your perceived value, which is PV. And if you talk about the emotional certainty part, it is based on the gut feeling that you have. It's based on the best you will think that might something good, your product or service something might be good. That is a gut feeling that you have. People buy from you because they like you, because they trust you. If we talk about the emotional certainty part, emotional certainty has to for example, I am using the emotional certainty. What do I do? What can I do to focus on your emotional certainty part? What you can do is you can paint your prospect a picture of the future where they are using your product, where they have already bought your product, and they can see themselves using the product and the service that you are providing, and you can make them feel good as a result of solving their problems, as a result of giving them value. You can show them the future. That is how emotional certainty works. For example, I want to sell a house to someone. I will paint a picture in their mind by storytelling method. I will paint a picture that they have already bought the house, they are living in the house, and they feel good, their family is there, their children are there, and I will show a mental picture in their mind. So this is how you activate the emotional certainty. And he has talked about straight line selling system. Straight line selling system is very important, and he has talked about straight line selling system to so that you can use the straight line system to open a sale and directly move your client from opening a sale to closing the deal without deviating from the topic, and in a straight line manner, becoming an expert listener and becoming an expert talker by speaking authentically in the non-egotistical way. You can move your client from opening to close. That is how a straight line selling system works. Let's talk more about the prospecting part of our what is it written in the prospecting part of the book. There are three main goals of a straight line prospecting. The first thing is you are identifying the mistakes and the looky-loos and you remove them from your sales funnel as soon as possible. Identifying the mistakes and the looky loos means you are identifying the people who are not your customers, who don't want to buy, or who will not buy in future also. You are identifying those customers and you are removing them from your sales funnel. And the second thing you can do, these are the three main goals of the straight line selling system, straight line prospecting. And the second thing is you gather intelligence from the buyers by asking them questions, by descriptive questions, and you move them down the straight line towards your closing. You begin the process of turning buyers into buyers in power to buyers in heat by amplifying their pain. First, you identify their pain, what are the pains and problems and the frustrations that they are having. Then what you do is you identify their problems and the frustration by continuously by reminding them it over and over again. That is how prospecting works. Let's talk more about the prospecting part. And the second part of the prospecting is information gathering. How you gather information about your prospect. The first thing you can do is you can identify the needs. Identification of needs. You can identify the needs, not just the core needs, but the secondary needs or the tertiary needs that they might be having. And you are identifying the problems they might have. And the second thing is you can identify their core beliefs. Identifying any core belief that they have is like identifying the core belief that could impact the sales, such as not feeling comfortable while talking over a phone, or making quick decisions, or not trusting the salespeople, or they want to meet you personally, or something like that. You need to identify that core belief, what the people believe. If you are trying to persuade someone on phone, but they don't usually believe we will believe the sales people who are on phone. They want to meet people, they want to see your product and service. So you have to identify the core belief that they might be having. And the third thing is you want to find out the past experience that they might be having. If they had some similar experience, or if they had some experience with the similar products and similar products and services that you are providing. The experience might be good or it might be bad, but how did they really feel about that? How did they feel about a salesperson? And how do they feel about the product and services in their past? You need to identify that. For example, I am calling someone as a cold call, and I want to sell someone a house, or I want to sell someone stocks or insurance policies or anything. So I need to identify their past experience, that if someone has called them before, if someone has tried to sell them insurance policies before, if someone has tried to sell them houses before, and based upon that past experience, based upon the problems they had before, you can prospect your customer. You can gain knowledge, you can gather the information about your prospect, so that you could take action while you are moving through the straight line persuasion system. The fourth thing that you need to know is you need to identify their values. What does value mean to them? What are the things that are most valuable to them? What are they looking for? You need to identify them. Identifying what value means to them is very important, because as you are providing value, if the value that you are providing is not valuable for them, then you are not providing any value to them. So you need to identify what is the most important thing, what is the most valuable thing to them. And when you know about what is that is more valuable to them, what is that they are looking for, what is the pain and frustrations that they are having, then you can easily come up with a product and service to solve their problem. And the next thing is you need to identify their financial standard, like their level of wealth or their spending ability or spending capacity, their need. You need to identify the need. You need to identify that how much, what is their pocket size. And the next thing is where is their pain lies. What is their pain? What is their pain and frustrations? What is it? What is that one important thing that keeps them up at night? What is their financial problem? You should know your prospect's pains. And when you know your prospect's pains, that the problems that they are having, you can amplify that pain. Okay, when you know if you don't know the pain, how could you amplify that pain? How could you sell your product or service? How can you solve their problem? And when you find out that pain, it will help you to close the toughest deal that you might have. And the next thing is you need to identify their financial standard. You need to identify their financial standard, because financial standard is very important. You can't sell a beggar a house. Let's talk more about prospecting. And the next thing about prospecting is the 4 things that you can do when you are engaged in a process of, say, straight line selling system or straight line prospecting. What you can do is you can ask them a series of strategically prepared questions, a strategically designed questions. And when you ask them a strategically designed question, you can gather information about them. You can use the questions to gather intelligence and separate the buyers in heat to the buyers in power. You can continue the information gathering system, like I have told before, that what kind of information that you should gather. And when you continue to gather the information from the buyers in heat and the buyers in power, by eliminating the looky-loos and the mistake. Looky-loos and the mistakes are the people who are not going to buy from you, people who are not interested in your product and service. You should remove them from your sales funnel. And the next thing is transitioning the buyer in heat and the power, and the buyer in heat and the buyer in power, to the next step of the syntax, so that they can move down the straight line or move down the straight line journey. Let's talk about the first 4-second rule. What is the first 4-second rule that you should know? In the first 4-second rule, he has explained about the importance of the first 4 seconds. When you meet your customer, when you start talking to your customer, what is the importance of the first second rule? There are 3 things to establish in the first 4 seconds of an encounter if you want to be perceived right away. When you encounter your prospect, when you first start to talk to them, when you start to sell your product, when you encounter your prospect, there are 3 things that you need to know, that the 3 things you need to consider while you are trying to establish the relationship with your customer. What are those 3 things? The first thing is you should be sharp as a tack. You should be a born problem solver, and you should be a born problem solver who is worth listening to, because you can help them to achieve their goal, because you are solving their problem, because you know their problems, because you know their pains and the frustrations, and you are there who will help them. And you can accomplish this by demonstrating mental speed, agility, and fast decision making, unique pace of delivery, which is tonality, that actually build up the trust in their mind. You can become expert in your field. You know what you are talking about. This is how you build a relation. This is how you build trust and loyalty in your customers. By speaking authentically, by speaking sharp, by being more agile, by being energetic. Let's talk the next thing, which is enthusiastic as hell. You should be enthusiastic. Sometimes trust, sometimes it's, you need to be enthusiastic, full of energy. You should be positive. You should be a positive influence in your prospect's life. You should never have passionately believe in the value of the, you should believe in your product and service, whatever product and service that you are offering to your prospect. You should have passionate belief about the kind of values that you are providing with your products and services that you are offering them. Generating belief in the values, generating belief in your values before selling a product or service is very important, and it will make you authentic to them. And the next thing is, you should be expert in your field. In the you should be in the highly competitive market. You should be expert in your field. You should be highly competent and ultra knowledgeable professional and a world-class expert. It will gain your prospectives respect towards you. When you are expert in some field, it will add value by offering, you can add value by offering unique products, by demonstrating the extensive knowledge and the experience that you have. Lot of people most of the people have a misconception that they feel like they have to wait for a certain period of time, or they have to wait for a 5 year or 6 year to be expert in some field. No, you don't need 5 or 6 years to be an expert in that field. You can always educate yourself. You can close the knowledge gap between you and an expert person. You can always educate yourself, and that is the best part, and that is the one of the best thing that you can do to yourself. You can always gain knowledge, you can always educate yourself, and being an expert in your field will will give you respect from your prospect, and the prospect will trust on you, and your prospect will believe in you. You can be able to build relationship with them. They will think that you are worth listening to. You are a problem solver because you know things, you know what you are talking about. Let's talk more about this and the 4-second rule. Let's talk more about the 4-second rule. Show your prospect that you are worth listening to. How you can do that? How you can show your prospect that you are worth listening to, you are an expert? What you can do is, you can directly get into the topic quickly by not talking any bullshit, by not talking any stupid things. You can get directly to the topic very quickly. You are not because you must know that your prospect's time is very essential. Don't waste their time. How you should know how to find a solution for their problem. You have to be an asset for them, not for short term but for long term. Once the prospect has come to know that you are having a positive conclusion, they'll exploit their value, they will show themselves, they will show you their problems and the frustrations. They will show you that what are the pain points that they are having. You can help them by achieving their goal. You can help them by giving them what they really want. And if you perceived as a wrong way, then you would not have any control over your communication. If you would not have any control over your prospect, the opposite thing will happen. The point here is How you perceived will carry how you perceived will carry through every part of your cell, and it starts within the first 4 seconds of your encounter. So the first 4 seconds is very important for your for example, if you are trying to sell someone, then the first 4 seconds is very important. So you need to establish the relationship in the first 4 seconds. Let's talk more about this and how the body language and tonality will help you to sell your product, or will help you for the straight line selling system, and what is the importance of tonality and body language. If we talk about tonality and body language is very important, and body language comes from authenticity. And if you talk about the communication part, 90% of your overall communication should be with your body language and tonality, and the 10% is through your mouth. Body language comes from authenticity and believe in whatever service and the product that you are providing to them. If you believe in your product, if you believe in whatever value that you're providing, then automatically or eventually your body language will be authentic. When someone lays an eye on you in the first 1/24th of the second, they will judge you by looking at your face, by looking at how you move. They'll process a mental image of yourself in their mind, and you are judged. Either you was judged as a person, someone who they wants to do business with, or who they really trust, or someone they don't. You need to be sharp, you need to be expert and enthusiastic while you are talking to your prospect. Body language is not going to get you sales, but a wrong body language will eventually ruin your sale. So you need to be focused on your body language. Let's talk about the tonality part. What is tonality? It's your words that move a prospect logically, but it's your tonality that moves them emotionally. And there are 10 core influencing tonality that you can use while you are communicating with your prospect. What are those? Those are like, for the first thing is I care. When you care about someone, it creates an unconscious psychological connection with them. We feel close to the people. When someone express a sincere caring towards us, we feel more close towards them. And if we talk, and the next thing is declaration as a question, then mystery and intrigue, then scarcity of like verbal scarcity, tonal scarcity, or informational scarcity, anything like that, and absolute certainty, utter certainty, the reasonable man. If you have, for example, I will give you an example of the reasonable man. If you have 60 seconds, I would like to share an idea with you that will be helpful for your problem or something like that. Do you got a minute? When you ask someone that you have a reasonable time, that only 1 minute I will tell you something, that only within the 1 minute. When you are telling someone that when you are expressing with a specific time, that is a reasonable statement, and this is how a reasonable man communicates. And the next thing is hypothetical. You are making someone think about something by keeping the money out of the equation. That is how hypothetical system works. And the next is implied obviousness. You can imply obviousness. And the next thing is I feel your pain. When you feel someone's pain, they will start to connect with you. Because if we talk about the skeptic people who are suspicious in nature, They will only believe people who of the same background, and the people who feel the same as they are feeling. And when you feel your pain, when you are when you know what are the pains and the problems that your prospect is having, they will know that you can only give them the solution because you know their pain. If you don't able to find out, or if you don't feel their pain, then you are not going to, they will not believe in you. That is how, these are the 10 core influencing tonality that you can use. And tonality and body language is very important while you are communicating with anyone. For example, if you want to communicate with your subordinates, or if you are communicating with your parents or your children or anyone, then if you are using your tonality, if you are using your body language, then the words that are coming from you, then the words that are coming from your heart will, when you're using your tonality and body language, you will be directly connected to the people that you want to talk. And the authenticity and the honesty, that you are authentic, that you really know what are the problems, that is your body language, and the tonality is the mirror image of your personality, mirror image of your authenticity. Now let's talk about the value of state and charisma. State management is very important. If you are if you want to connect with people, if you want to connect with your prospect, then state management is very important. You need to be in the emotional state to the very end of your sales, very end of the closing part. You need to be in that emotional state. He has explained about the 4 C's of management, the 4 C's of state management. What are the 4 C's? Let's talk about the 4 C's of state management. The first thing is certainty. You have to be certain, in a certain state of mind, in a certain state of emotion. You have to have the clarity, and you need to have confidence and courage within you. These are the 4 C's that will help you to manage state, and you should always consider these 4 C's while you are managing your state, while you are being in a same emotional state while you are talking to people. And if we talk about the charisma is very important, and I have quoted the charisma myth by Olivier Fox, according to who is there are 3 elements of charisma, which are power, warmth, and presence. Power is the expertise and the intelligence that you have. Warmth is how you behave to people, and the presence is you are present in that moment, and you are listening to people. That is the charisma myth. And if we talk about this book, The Way of the Wolf, Jordan has explained there are 3 elements of the charisma that you can use. The first thing that is the first element of charisma is effective use of your tone. Effective use of your tone is very important, as we have talked about effective use of tone, and there are 10 core tone like things. And when you are using the tone, when you are using your tonality, the 10 core influencing tonality that I have already talked about, when you're using them, you are basically showing your authenticity. You are connecting with them emotionally, and it's not logically, it's emotionally. You are connecting when you're using your tone, then you are connecting with them emotionally. And next thing is body language. We have already talked about body language and tonality. So body language and tonality both are very important for charisma. And the next thing is you are not saying anything stupid, because you are an expert in that subject. You are expert in your field. You know what you are talking about. So when you are saying something bullshit, you are saying something that is stupid, then you will lose your credibility. So you can build the charisma by using effective use of your tonality and body language and not saying anything stupid. I hope you have got the basic idea about this book, and I will recommend you to subscribe to Jordan Belford's channel. And he is also offering the sales funnel, and he's also offering the sales training also. I would definitely, if you are if you want to know sales, if you want to learn sales, how to sell people, how to persuade people, and how to communicate persuasively, which is a very important skill for entrepreneurs. If you are an entrepreneur, if you are a businessman, anything, it is one of the best skill or one of the most important skill that you should learn. And as a if you want to learn sales, or if you want to learn, if you are a businessman, or if you want to learn sales, if you want to learn how to communicate persuasively, if you want to connect to people emotionally, then this is the best book that you can buy. And I would recommend you to read this book, because I personally could not be able to cover the whole book, and this is a very good book on sales and marketing. I hope you have got the idea about this book. And kindly, if you like our video, if you like our if you like the content that I am providing, then please subscribe to our channel and share it with your friends and family, so that if you share the knowledge, if you are providing any value to others by sharing this video, then you are becoming a go-giver. You are providing value, and that value will definitely reciprocate back to you. Thanks guys, this is Rudra signing off.